Hi friends, today let us study about chromatography in this session. Before going to know what is chromatography, please do subscribe our channel. If you need any related videos, please do comment. First of all, what do you mean by chromatography? Chromatography is a simple technique which is used for the separation of mixtures into a individual components using a stationary phase and a mobile phase. Next we have a types of chromatography. Here first one we have classified based on the nature of stationary phase and mobile phase what we will use. Here in that we have many types. In that first one, gas solid chromatography, gas liquid chromatography, solid liquid chromatography and liquid liquid chromatography. Next type we have classified based on the principle of separation, whether it follows the principle of adsorption or principle of partition. So based on this we have classified into adsorption chromatography and partition chromatography. Next, based on the modes of chromatography, we have two types. One is normal phase chromatography and other is reverse phase chromatography. In normal phase chromatography, stationary phase will be polar in nature and mobile phase will be non-polar in nature, whereas in reverse phase chromatography stationary phase will be non-polar and mobile phase will be polar in nature. Next we have other types of chromatography that are ion exchange chromatography, gel permeation chromatography and chiral chromatography. In ion exchange chromatography we can separate cation and anion using cationic resins and anionic resins. Next, gel permeation chromatography. In this we can separate the components based on the molecular weight. The components will be separated. Last, chiral chromatography. It is used for the separation of the chiral compounds like levoform and dextroform can be separated in this type of chromatography. Next, let us study about the principles of chromatography. Here we have two types of principle. In that, first one is adsorption chromatography and second one is partition chromatography. First, let us study about adsorption chromatography. When a mixture of components are dissolved in a mobile phase that is allowed to move through a column of stationary phase, they will travel according to the relative affinity towards the stationary phase. So your main thing what we should consider is that depending upon the affinity, whether they have more affinity towards the stationary phase or towards the mobile phase, here the separation takes place. If the compound have more affinity towards the mobile phase, it will travel faster. If has more affinity towards the stationary phase, it will travel slower. Means based on the affinity towards the stationary phase or the mobile phase, here the components will be separated. And the main thing is that no two components will have the same affinity for the combination of stationary phase, mobile phase and other conditions. Next we have a partition chromatography. Here when two immiscible liquids are present, a mixture of solutes will be separated or distributed according to the partition coefficient. Means when a mixture of components are dissolved in a mobile phase and pass through elute or pass through the column of liquid of stationary phase, the components which is more soluble in stationary phase will travel slower and the component which is more soluble in the mobile phase travels faster. Thus the components are separated because of the difference in the partition coefficient. Next, let us study about the applications of chromatography. Some of the applications of chromatography are separation of a mixture of components like alkaloid, amino acids, plant extract, drugs, and other formulations. Next, it is also used for the removing impurities from the compounds using a appropriate stationary phase and mobile phase. Even it is also used for the isolation of active components. Even it is also be used for the isolation of metabolites from the biological fluids. Example cortisol, other drugs from the biological fluids like blood, plasma or serum can also be isolated. Next, it is also used for the estimation of the drug in the formulation or crude drug extract, etc. For more topics of the chromatography, please do subscribe the channel. It will be uploaded in next upcoming sessions.